Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sim Racing Alliance. We are here with Season 10 and Round 1.
Boogity, let's go racing as the green flag jobs.
Looking maybe even full wide.
They're fanning out, there's a bit of contact. He's got the outside.
Side, that's a great move. He's got plenty of speed in there and he's being held up.
He's gonna have a better run. Yeah, it's gonna stick it on the outside.
Well, that's a late move. 296 Ferrari, though, finds the space.
Oh, he didn't have it.
We're on the way for SRA.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sim Racing Alliance and welcome back to Division 2 for Round 4 at the Circuit de Spa Francorchamps. It's switched up a little bit this week. I am Alexa Marshall, joined by Sam Roworth and Cube Master. It's definitely going to be one to look out for here at the Circuit de Spa Francorchamps. Sam,
Okay, sorry, I'm hearing some background noise there. Anyways, guys, welcome to Spa. I think this is probably one of the most well-known tracks, so a lot of you won't need a rundown on how to do things and where the passing zones are. But let's just go over a few points. First thing, just for the start, we actually start at roughly turn 2 on the map anyway. Not really turn 2, it's just sort of the kink, but also that is where the green lights will go out. So your actual lap will end at the end of, the checkered back at around 19 to 1. But that's just something to remember because everyone starts off heading straight to Eau Rouge, everyone's favorite turn, where we can go 3, 4, and 5 wide and make it all through perfectly, I'm sure. Heading up the hill, of course, we know the Kemmel Straight is where most of the passes will happen. That hopefully, but just remember that at the end of that, you've got 7, 8, 9 Lacombes essentially. But that is a turn where you need to hit the brakes at probably the fastest speed you're going to go in most tracks. Get the weight down on the front of the car, get your turn in done, and get set up to get out of there, out of turn 9. Because if you actually look at the way that this track is set up, the technical areas like 7, 8, 9, etc., and then a little bit of 10, 11, when you finish those turns, they're not really that important. You need to get onto the fast-paced parts of this track. So what are we talking about? We're talking about between turn 11 and 13, which is essentially not flat out so much. You break a little bit going into 12, but that whole section is very fast. Now you have another 13, 14, 15, that section, we're talking down into campus. That again is you're sort of just pulling yourself in, taking the turns correctly, and then trying to set your lines up all so that you can get out of turn 15, Stavolo, onto what is my favorite part of the track. Blanchimont really is just, I think, the most fun because as you're going at full sprint, full pace, you gotta just tap your wheel a little bit into the left to get around the first, make sure it pushes you all the way out. Then you've got to set up your left again at the end of Blanchimont to carry that full speed. Don't you want to lift, but you get inside that left curb and that'll spit you out. And so there's a lot of different ways to mess your race up and end up way out and to the right into the dirt there. So we're looking at a good passing point here in Blanchimont also. If you set up the run coming out of, like I said, Stavolo, setting a run out of there, you can really take advantage of getting up on people's speed if they've messed up that area. But you are still moving through, like I said, these 2 left-hand turns that if you need to be fighting with someone while you're doing that, you need to pay attention a little bit so that you don't take it too fast and slide off into the dirt, as we said. Now, following into the final part here, the chicane, the bus stop, whatever you want to call it, get all that speed down, get your turning in, go over the curb as much as you can, but just be careful about it because the worst thing you can do is have a great lap and then spin out into the side or go over a curb, and maybe you end up into the pit lane, which honestly is probably the actual worst thing you can do, because we all know the pit lane here is something to dread, something to stay away from. It's minutes of your life gone by just to drive through it feels like. So we're looking, like I said, Kemmel Straight, major passing point, mostly Blanchimont, major pass point. You might be able to get something through Pouon. We're talking turn 12 there. And then it's all about the strategy about when you go into pits. It's all about staying inside the line so you don't get too many warnings, get a drive through. And that's what we're looking at for tonight.
Yeah, definitely one to look at, as I am going to hand it to Cubemaster. Finally, they can speak a little bit, as it is going to be going on to the driver standings, as we want to see how it will stack up tonight at Spa-Francorchamps. And of course, we're in round 4. We are now at the halfway point of the season. How's everything going to be stacking up after this race going into the second half?
In the second half of the season, we're leading by Jared by 221 points, 10 points back. We got John, and then another 23 points back with Nick. So it's pretty close, actually, all down to P5. We're within 40 points. So that is within a race or two of a distance between the top 5 races. Darwin right now is at P12 overall, and he's the silver leader, leading P2 silver. Actually, it's only by 2 points. So silver is extremely close as well. Actually, it's quite a bit closer than gold and overall. If I'm looking at a silver in general, we can count down to P6 of silver, Austin's White Scarver. He is P6 and only 40 points back from the silver standing. Let's go to the team standing really quick because quali is already going. Team standing here. So top team right now is your Arky Cat Cartel by John and Matt. 392 points. And then 20 points back in Madhouse Racing. Team close enough. I'm sure they're pretty close enough. 20 points not too far. In Ivan and Nick. Next on the podium is Neon Blade Runner. Oh, I like that team name. By Brian and Jared. 27 points. So with only 7 points back from P2. So podium is pretty set, I would say. Because P4 a little further back. But within the podium, there may still some shuffling going on. Let's hop to the qualifying. Because we're already halfway there for the silver drivers.
Definitely going to be one to look out for, as we do apologize about this, guys. We were kind of rushing about a little bit, so please do bear with us this evening as we get into qualifying eventually. As do bear with us. And a huge thank you this evening to our SRA sponsors and title sponsors for supporting us here at SRA, and as well as Documentize, a modern business solutions for project management. Go to documentize.com to learn more today. And support from Retro Saga, a North American-based gaming company that provides accessories for your favorite classic systems, including Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and much more. Enhance your retro gaming experience today at retrosaga.ca. Bit unlucky for me over here in Britain. As we do keep on going though, as hopefully we should be able to get the boards up momentarily. But going to you, Sam and Cube, what do we think we can expect this evening at Spa-Francorchamps? And realistically, who do we think is going to be coming out on top?
Well, for me, something you need to look into is on the leaderboards every week for who's getting those fast laps in, because qualifying does tend to matter for these races, especially when you're starting out heading straight into Eau Rouge, because the first few cars can get away and then kind of run away with it. So I'm looking here at Nixon, Alutofo, and Fire Queso. They are all in the mid to low 216s. But there's actually a whole lot of spread out here. There's 40 guys on the, or drivers on the list for this race, for this week. I don't know if they're all in game right now, but there's 40 on the list, and they go from the mid-16s to the mid-19s. So that sort of indicates to me that at the start, you might have a little bit of chaos. you know, as people who maybe haven't practiced the map as much, who have those 19s, maybe don't 100% know how to take the offline, you know, because the offline is what you have to be able to do when you're mixed up with a lot of people, especially at the start. So I would say, you know, look out for the people who qualify high to sort of get away with it. Look out for the rest of the drivers to sort of fight, and maybe a handful of them will end up having to go to the pits early. And then because it's Spa and because we're only changing tires, I feel like there won't be much of a change from then on, but there will probably be lots of little fun battles going on the whole time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that is Spa for you, especially like up front, they can seem to run away with it a little bit most of the time. However, the midfield is definitely one to look out for. You can usually see about 1 or 2 trains which start to form up throughout the entire race, even with the pit stops, which usually is the part that makes for quite a lot of the interesting racing. What about you, Cube?
I'm not quite familiar with the drivers in D2, but I'm definitely eyeing the mid to back, actually, because, you know, lap 1 and Orush Radon is kind of famous for doing what he does. I am hoping everyone will get to use all the countless hours they practiced.
Yeah, most definitely. As here we go then over to the race scene, and hopefully we should get all the leaderboards up very soon, as we do still get used to it a little bit, as we're going to continue going for the rest of this evening. Though on the bumper cam of good old Mike Mitchell, I believe, as we do continue on throughout the rest of this qualifying. Of course, the silvers are going to be the first ones out on track, followed by the golds, as it is, of course, the time of the evening that the sun begins to drop. This is what I'm used to, doing this in the pitch black night, and that's what it's going to be like in the race. One thing we also have to think about, though, is how will the gold drivers be affected by this, as, of course, there will be more rubber laid down from the silver drivers and fellow gold drivers, but as the temperatures begin to drop, it's going to be harder to bring up those tyre temperatures, which may also hinder their own lap times going into their qualifying runs. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, one of the biggest problems with a track like this, and any other track that's about this long and has, you know, an over 2 minute, and I mean, we're talking 2 1/3 minutes here for a lap time. The problem in qualifying is if you just invalidate by a little bit at any point in the lap, it's almost always going to cost you a whole bunch of those 10 minutes that you have to qualify. So not only do you have to get out and do a whole lap to warm up your tires, which you hopefully have practiced with at these temperatures because we had the, you know, server set for that. But then once you get going, if you mess up even a little bit, I mean, you're talking maybe a few laps that you overall have a chance to run through qualifying, and you just sort of have to get out there and hit it hard, and then hopefully that you've made it work.
Yeah, so talking about pit delta, in Spa, we have mandatory tire change. The optimal pit delta will be 92 seconds, which is 67% of the lap time. That will put you quite far back in the field if you pit early. And if you're expecting to come out and fight, because you're going to get put back in the midfield if you pit early, you're going to be fighting down Camel Straight and Lacombe with cold tires, since you're on your outlap and we're in the night. That may be create some sketchy moments.
Yeah, definitely going to be creating some sketchy moments. I mean, that's another thing with the night time as well. It can really come down to what you can see. As a bit of a sketchy moment, of course, last night in D1 as Mia Rose and another driver had a collision going down the Camel Straight, and that was really just a testament to the driver's skill being able to avoid that, as of course you'll get your double yellows popping up on your hood. However, you also won't, if you're going to be going pretty fast around this circuit, meaning that it's going to be hard to realistically react in time, but it really is a testament to driver skill when they get it done so easily.
Yeah, I mean, something that we're talking about with the whole strategy of pitting in and everything, and this has to do, a lot with the start of the race, is there are many races where people will take the strategy of pitting early and then getting back out in free air and sort of just trying to run basically hot laps, so they can maybe gain some time and essentially undercut their other drivers. That doesn't sort of exist here. You can try it on the first lap and you will probably get back out in front, but maybe not that works for you. But if you're not doing it on exactly the first lap, there's a good chance that when you get out of the pits in any sort of early pitting scenario, you'll be back in the middle of the pack. And unfortunately, at least in this, this league, when you are blue flagged, and you are a lap down, you have to let them by. So something that happened to me last night was I had a little bit of damage from getting hit. Early on, I had to pit, and when I came out of the pits, I was mid-pack. And suddenly I lost seconds a lap by letting people by because I had to pull over for them. So it's something you really got to look out for, is if you are going to try to pit because you have damage early, or if you're going to wait to pit, and it can take a longer and longer time, look at your track map and really try to time that well. But it's rough here. It's definitely rough.
Yeah, I mean, Spa is just a rough circuit overall when it comes down to it, because realistically, this is one of the things I love about European tracks. And the British tracks are most known for it, but of course the other European tracks are very good with it, with how much they punish the drivers. Because over in America, you can kind of just slap a track in the middle of the desert and not have to worry about putting loads of runoff. Whereas here in Europe, you got to work with the terrain more than you would hope to, meaning that you've got to put it all the way there, and any mess up will most likely send you into the grass. I mean, what the most infamous track, the Nürburgring Nordschleife, being the main culprit of that. However, I like to think of Spa as like a little mini Nordschleife when it comes down to it, with what the track is just like overall, as it's got those curbs that not only can punish you, it's got the environment that makes it hard to overtake, especially here at night.
I haven't been driving this track for quite some time. How are the tire decks for those who have driven last night? Do you think it will favor undercut?
I think it depends on your car you're using and setup. So something I drive the 992, the Porsche, and I've had issues with the tires, especially around here when I was doing like hot laps. So really low fuel and really optimizing your setup to go as fast as possible was very bad for my tires. But my setup for the race, I ended up not having any really tire problem at all somehow, because like I said, I had to pit early, which I was not planning on doing. So I think that worked out. I think because I planned, or I had a setup that was going to be easy on tires just because I know the Porsche has that problem, then I did that. But the Mustang is not known so well already, and then a couple other cars are known for hurting their tires, but this track, while it is big and it is punishing, there's a lot of just sort of fast and sweeping turns. So I think that tires may not be the thing that you strategize here. And of course, we aren't getting fuel, so it's sort of what do you strategize? What do you think about? And I think overall, it's kind of about just picking your moment. Following people very closely here actually becomes the bigger issue. It's not about so much your tire degradation as much as your overall downforce while you're in dirty air going down like the Kemmel Straight or Blanchimont. That can have disastrous consequences, and then you're getting damage and going off, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it really comes down to driver versus driver. That sort of strategy is, do I stay close to this guy? Do I, try to fall back? Or what happens if there's 3 cars in front of me and am I trying to get around them, et cetera? That's what matters tonight, is being the driver strategist rather than sort of the pit stop strategist.
Yeah,
good to hear. Because I usually would like to think when we have mandatory tire, you pit halfway, half C, so you have 2 best set of tires. So it sounds like it doesn't get penalized for not pitting halfway.
I think if you are in fights the entire time with someone close, that will always use your tires more. You know, something that people who maybe don't watch enough or that much motorsports maybe don't understand is that when two cars are actually defending and attacking each other in a very close battle, they are always using more of pretty much everything, using more brakes, more tires, you know, more of their, honestly, more of their fuel sometimes, because you're driving in these weird lines. And those weird lines mean you can't optimize certain things, and it also means that you're dealing with, you know, having to slow down here, turn in here, whatever, based on that fight. And what that also does is it pulls you away from cars in front of you. It always is slower to have two cars battling. So yeah, I think that if you're in a two-car battle, or even we're talking 3, 4, whatever, because you're in this giant slipstream, which is what can happen at Spa, then your tire degradation might be a lot different than what I experienced. But if you find yourself in a bit of a gap, or you give yourself a little bit of a gap to the car in front because we have an hour, because it's a long track, because you might be able to track them down later, I think you can really conserve your tires.
Yeah, I mean, tyres are probably going to be the talk of the evening, realistically, because I feel like we all know what Spa's like with tyres, because it just absolutely kills them. But to be honest, we should probably stop talking about the tyres and actually start talking about what's happening on track with all these guys, as we are watching a Ford. Yep, Wheeler's going to be going to the line as he goes up to pole position, as the Gold drivers are now on track, and it's all over the place realistically, and it's nice and clean for the 6:13 2-minute, I believe, bit blurry on my end, but 2 minutes 16.583 from the looks of it,
with a quarter-second gap between Wheeler and Rife within the front row, and we just have a new P2 with 2/10 back.
Yeah, and something to notice here is that the first 4 cars are Mustangs, so
maybe BOP is not doing his job. So
I think maybe
BOP.
Well, maybe there's a driver here that would benefit by you know, not having BOP updated, that maybe has the power to do so. I don't know, maybe a driver down there on track right now.
Yeah,
the first 5 are Mustangs.
I'm looking who is driving it.
Right. I believe it's kind of perfect to put this here. Missile lock, Fox 1, Splash 1, top 5. Great. I thought I escaped the Ford dominance by coming to PC away from console. However, I clearly have not.
Yeah, there's 6 of the top 7 there. 8 of the top 10. I could keep going.
20 kilos is obviously not enough.
Gotta make it 40. Gotta make it 40.
Max them out.
I will say though, you know, those guys, all those Mustangs out front, the Mustang is not known for being the most stable and graceful car we have. If something happens out front in the early, you know, Eau Rouge or even end of the Camel Straight, that might cause a big old parking lot.
They are a handful to drive for sure. When I tried it, they're fast, but they are definitely a handful. And also, while they're being handful, because they're being handful, they were so not nice to the rear tires, kind of like the Porsches was for me.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I've switched from a Lambo to a McLaren because I'm totally not British. But like, it's the way it is realistically, as qualifying has now come to an end.
Oh, Nick Sands just got second. Ooh, almost front to P1, off by 27 milliseconds. Oh, that's a tight one.
Talk about being tight. Just shows how small the gap can be, even in Division 2, though, as we do continue on it as qualifying, and everybody's going to be coming to the line. It's all over the place, realistically.
The gap is close within the Ford.
Yes, within the Ford, the gap is close.
We need to restart this stream. Hello and welcome to Spec Mustang.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sim Racing Mustang. It's the way it is, as there we go, qualifying now comes to an end. Apologies that we were talking about tyres the entire time. It's just been a bit of a, we will be honest, it's been a bit of getting everything set up. Me and Cube were originally supposed to be on D6, but then it turned out that there was no D2 stream, so we had to quickly hop over here and get everything set up. It was a very quick improvisation this evening, but honestly, I do not complain about the improvisation because now I can tease Andrew Rife.
Nobody's battling in qualifying. You don't need to talk about minute to minute there. But you know, it's dark. But as we get closer down to the time and lights turn on, maybe we can take a rundown and you know, look at some of the cars, look at some of their liveries, see if anyone's updated anything, see what looks like. One of the things I noticed last night that was really cool is finally seeing the extra lighting, the extra LEDs that people put out. So, you know, as we get closer looks at these cars, just take a look. They're interesting. They're fun.
Yeah, very true. And I mean, it's what quite a lot of people do realistically. As especially in the night, it definitely makes it a lot more interesting, and I like it when people go with the colours of the team most of the time, because it's what makes it a whole lot more easier to determine what team is which. As the grid is now forming up, we will go racing in 1 minute and 12 seconds as we continue on throughout the rest of this race. And before we get going, of course, a big thank you I'm messing this up already. Do not fire me, please. A big thank you to our affiliates just before we go racing. Track Racer, experienced refined gaming with Track Racer, high quality sim rigs and accessories. Use code SRATE at checkout to support us. And Aramiterio, a toolbox for ACC which will enhance your chance to win. Enjoy customizable and enhanced HUD to change the way you experience ACC. And of course, you've got AT3D Sim Shop. Upgrade your sim racing experience with premium 3D printed accessories featuring precision crafted magnetic shifters, versatile stream decks, sleek cable management solutions, deck mounts, and immersive dashboard displays. And their innovative designs enhance performance and style. Elevate every lap with top-tier quality and craftsmanship at at3d.net. Of course, if you want the perfect setups, you've got Go Setups, premium esports setups for everyone. Use our affiliate link in our Discord and take your drive to the next level. And from Castle and Cauldron, a home-based crafting business specializing in handmade Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts, fairy wool collectibles, as well as magic wands, potions, mini dioramas, wall decor, customary, cosplay, and much more. Castle Cauldron is where crafting meets the magical. Visit facebook.com/Castle Cauldron as we now get underway here at Francorchamps.
Yeah, now we'll spend the
warm-up lap.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. We'll spend the next 30 minutes just talking as this warm-up lap happens.
I mean, that's kind of the way it happens. Or, I mean, let's be honest, that kind of is just the way it happens. This warm-up lap takes absolutely ages. Just imagine if we had to do. Just imagine if we had to do an actual full warm-up lap at the Nordschleife.
Oh my god, I don't even know how quali is gonna go. Literally, we got 2 laps.
No. You don't have 2 laps. You have 1 lap.
Because we have a formation lap.
Yeah, that'll go well.
That's what it'll be like for an Nordschleife. You'll have 1 lap and then you'll have to go around the GP circuit, get back onto the main straight, and then get going. Because otherwise, you're not going to have a qualifying lap to do.
So if you're new or somewhat new to this, or maybe you just don't sort of know what some of the tricks are for getting your tires warm. You know, you might see a lot of professional drivers weave back and forth, and unfortunately that just really doesn't do that much here in ACC. And to be honest, it doesn't do as much as you would like in real life either. So something that does work, though, is applying your brakes and pretty much leaving them applied almost the entire lap around for the warm-up.
And going full throttle.
Yeah, I mean, you can try to brake boost at the end, which is sort of leaving the brakes on just as you start.
Yes.
Yeah, but overall, if you use your brakes and sort of go most throttle just throughout this entire time, you'll see their brake lights are on a lot of this lap. You can keep heat in the brakes, which then extends out to the tires.
So at night we may even be able to see the brakes glow. Because very often I would heat up the brake upward of 800 to 900 Celsius during the warm-up lap to get as much temperature as possible. So they may be glowing if we keep an eye on them. And I often actually spend probably double amount of fuel in the formation lap than actual racing because it's longer and I'm going full throttle with brake most of the time.
Yeah, in a low gear.
Yep.
Yeah, and something else that helps is if you make your brake bias as close to 50-50, so you're actually applying the brakes to both before setting it back to whatever you're going to use for the race. I mean, that may be a little bit of a step too far if you don't have the buttons or the memory to do so, but that would help the most.
Or we can use Mercedes brake magic.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely one to look out for. One thing I'm going to point out, it is, of course, Wheeler who is on pole position, but Andrew Rife up there in the top 5, the top of the silver drivers, and he's got 3 different gold drivers in between him and I believe that is Schwartz, who is behind him, them in P9. So he's got quite a few cars behind him to possibly open up a gap at the very start. However, of course, if we switch back to Wheeler, that's going to be the perfect opportunity. As we all know what's coming up, everybody will go to double file as well. Actually, Wheeler is, and he's just currently going off into the distance. Who is he? Max Verstappen. As we just keep on going throughout the rest of this circuit. And of course, we don't start here. We start going down to Eau Rouge, because otherwise, not everybody will be able to get through the goddamn final corners. So the 613 is going to be leading us away from the start of the grid. It's a full 1 hour race. It is Season 11, Round 4 for Division 2 in the depths of the Ardennes night in the Belgium countryside. 1 hour race coming our way as all the drivers head down into turn 1, and you start to head downhill, you'll get that a little bit more rotation, and of course limit is 43 miles per hour. No idea what that is in kilometers per hour. That's for fancy folks, or just for Americans. Or no, not Americans, because they don't know what a kilometer is. I am so going to get cancelled on Twitter as we continue heading down and waiting for it as they get going momentarily. As it's boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing as the green flag drops. And away we go. Already into turn number 1 technically for this lap. It's down and it's easy. Wheeler keeps the lead. Nice and clean. We got Porsche off in the background, completely caught on the circuit. Down the Kemmel Straight though, it is going to be the other Ford, the 105. Looking for a run on Wheeler, heading down towards the chicane at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Brake lights on, it's what you love to see in this race as the ACC board on the left-hand side decides it's going to take ages to sort itself out. Heading through the left-hander, through the right-hander is absolutely beautiful as wheel to wheel, side by side, and it's what you love to see, and it's absolutely nice and clean. Heading down into the right-hander though, another Ford going down the inside. It's kind of hard for me to see the names, so I do apologise, but it is going to be Mick, who is going to be looking for it around the outside maybe. In fact, I do believe, yes he has, he's already got it done. He's up in a P2.
And I think P2-3 may have used their speed token at no names. I think they have, no, they definitely did. They were outside of the curb, so maybe they have to be very careful because you don't want to spend your speed token this early on in the race.
I think it's safe to just say this Mustang does this and this Mustang does that. Forget the names for a while.
Just Mustangs. In the front is Mustang. And then more drivers. Yep, Nick Sands, definitely one of them. Again, ban another speed token. I believe that was no name again. Yes, that was it? I'm kind of lost track. It's really tough to see at night. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, keep in mind, if you don't actually gain time when you go over these, you may not get those warnings. And that happens to me a lot on this track is because you're going around these big sweepers and you have to lift to sort of make sure your turn works. And when you lift, you can sometimes sort of trick the system. But I would want to point out that, oh my God.
Oh my God, that's Andrew.
Who? That was Andrew?
I think that was Andrew.
No, that wasn't Andrew. That was somebody else. They're sitting off the circuit. Who the heck? That was a Ford. There was no contact, thankfully, but was it a Ford? It's kind of hard to tell.
I think they drove into the tire wall. Oh no, they're just waiting. But yeah, that is just completely missing your braking point there, and luckily not collecting anyone else. So that is amazing driving for everyone around them.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I feel like that may have been more than a braking point as Philip decides to go completely and just to completely cut the top of Radion. That is definitely going to be a track limits warning as we head down the Kemmel Straight once again, and the Fords are just going to keep on battling with each other.
It's basic into
two wides,
two
all
hides.
the way. two hides, and it's what you'll love to see realistically. We do apologise if it's hard for us to keep up with, guys. It's very dark here at Spa-Francorchamps. Now you guys know what I have to deal with as a European when I'm doing comms like this, so you're welcome. As we continue going down the hill once again through the left-hander, and it's going to be going down to the corner. Everybody loves good old Puon with the funny name. If you're a 13-year-old and you cringe, you're probably going to be making fun of that name, but we're actually mature here, and we're not going to as we head down through Puon or look for the moves, as Philip is going to be continuing to defend the line as he is going to hold it as a hander over to either Cube or Sam.
Well, it's something we need to point out here is we've been following this group of 6 or 7 cars as they go around and have these great little battles, but we haven't seen P1 in this shot for over a lap. They have checked out.
Our leader, Wheelers, last lap's gap was only half of that. So in this single lap, because of these 5-6 car, mostly Mustangs, are fighting, Wheeler's just off being Max Verstappen and being solo play.
Oh, wait,
please don't.
Twitch chat explodes with Max Verstappen.
I did just see a name, I believe Chalksclair, dropping way down the leaderboards. Now, either that's a delay in the way the boards work, which happens a lot, or we missed something and someone just went for a spin, I imagine, back there.
I did not see that.
Something else to notice, though, is...
That's a car going around. As we're getting a replay, apparently. We're getting a replay nicely, as we definitely saw a car half spun there, going down towards the final chicane of the bus stop. Everybody loves it. Of course, if unless it's open lobbies and somebody decides to dive it down the inside, and that is just
John
like
got
that.
Spun.
Just like that, and that is 100% going to be an investigation without a doubt.
Yeah, that's an easy call.
Yep.
Unfortunate, but easy. And I mean, that can happen every single time.
Well, there's Wheeler, ladies and gentlemen, as this battle further back with all the Fords, maybe some Ferraris are going to be getting up and in the action as we continue going down once again, looking at the bumper carbon fiber cars, because we don't have the liveries on yet. It was a bit of a rush to get in here, but as we continue going on and down through the left-hander, down towards Puon once again, going over the curb, that is validated. I do
that's
think.
That's case got to leave room on the outside.
Yeah,
very much parallel.
Just
not quite overlapping to Puhong.
He's got to feel a bit like a fish out of water here in this big group of Mustangs, but if he can sneak through them, one at a time, that'll work. But when you look at the Mustangs all going against each other, 4 of them sort of in the same group, it is sort of like the joke I made, but still spec Mustang. And when you have multiples of the same type of car racing against each other, it actually a lot of times is the best racing because it's just driver to driver and somewhat of a setup.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, cheers. I feel like that's another thing. I think that's why, what I see, loads of people love the Porsche Cup because everybody is in the same car. Same with the BTCC, same over here in Britain with the BTCC, the British Touring Car Championship. Loads of people are getting into it and loads of people are starting to like it as everybody's in equal machinery. As we see a car going off there in a quick little replay. Don't actually know who that was because it's so goddamn dark here in the Ardennes, but everybody loves same spec racing, and even when you got loads of different cars on track, as we've got a car coming into the pit lane on the left-hand side, it just makes it truly down to the driver's testament and skill.
Yeah, actually, if you ever want to see the best racing in the world and you want to learn racecraft at a level that you just basically is untouchable, the MX5 Cup over here in the US is always down to the millisecond with multiple cars crossing the line. It's unbelievable. But
yeah,
do we only have one person in the pit? Is that the first person to pit right now?
I definitely do not believe it would have been the first person into the pit lane.
We have 3 drivers who are pit already. So Anderson pit, Carl's pit, Troxclair pit. So we have 3. So who's this one? Anderson. Anderson is oh what? Wow, that's a long pit lane. I forgot.
Yeah, well, welcome to Spa, where if you come in this early or you get a drive through, you are completely screwed. I was going to say a different name, but I realized I'm on American television.
Yeah, honestly, the problem here is that at this point, you know, in the race, like I said, it's a few laps in already. So there's a chance that if you're taking a normal pit stop or if you're dealing with some damage right now, you may come back right in front of the leading pack, right? And especially since the leader is 10 seconds out front, who knows, you might just jump out right in front of them, and that's not going to be fun at all.
So our leader Wheeler's last lap is a purple lap of 17.855. No one currently is doing sub 20. So he's gonna gap everyone else 2+ seconds every lap, which has been doing.
That sounds like he's gonna get
traffic really quick.
He's gonna get catapulted into D1 really quick.
Yeah, I was about to say, Mia Rose is contending with Michael Menning in D1. Wheeler, do you wanna like maybe try to phone Michael Menning as the best Ford driver in D1? But that would be great. Please make it interesting. Save me and Andrew. Make it a bit more interesting for me and Andrew.
Ooh, we've got Oh, sorry. Yep.
We got a couple sub 20. Oh, I missed that. Someone cut a chicane. Hey.
Yeah, they made it around the barrier though. That's there's multiple cars that have cut that chicane and then make it really tight around the tire barrier, which I'm not sure I would trust doing. If you bump that, it'll shove you right back into the path of everyone because the chicane goes back on itself.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to cut in here as we see Schwartz going for a slipstream and getting the run as we head down the Kemmel Straight on Mitchell. As we head down the Kemmel Straight, down towards the chicane once again, the Lamborghini gets the overtake done. A lovely little move there down the Kemmel Straight. And surprisingly, the Kemmel Straight isn't as easy to overtake down as it is in Formula 1.
Yeah, because we don't have DRS. And I feel like the toll these car provides is not as significant as most can think. So being behind someone with boots is not that much.
Well, unless it's a McLaren, the slipstream you can get in a McLaren against a bulky car like a BMW or a Ford is just absolutely crazy.
But McLaren and the Ferrari themselves, these two, I feel like they do not provide good toll, so they're good on the straight when you're defending.
Yeah, something to keep in mind.
Cars to defend with.
Something that you need to think about when you're doing these sort of races at a track like this is in your setup. How much downforce do you have? How much wing do you essentially put in your setup? And that can make a big difference because there's two things that happen that are very important in the very first couple turns with essentially how much downforce you have. The first being, can you make it up a Rouge and Radio and flat? And if you can do that, have you added too much downforce that slows you down in the Kemmel Straight, all the way dragging there? So that is sometimes where you'll see cars that maybe look like they're in the slipstream, but they aren't getting as much of a benefit as you think. They might have adjusted their wing for this based on how the car drives.
I feel like that is quite a hard compromise in this season because we do not refuel. We do not allow refueling, so there's no way you can flat with a high fuel load. So you cannot compromise your downforce for half fuel, and then if we're doing refuel allowed, you can do half fuel and half fueled. In this, you kind of just have to compromise. Oh, how much downforce I want to take. And how far down the fuel load will allow me to flat that.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking of a difference of like somewhere between 3 and 5 kilometers at the end of the Camel Straight, which with something that is that long, that is a significant difference. That's just by changing your wing by like 1 or 2 points in whatever car.
I mean, yeah, it really does prove the difference, to be honest. Like, even the minor adjustments can really help you out either way. As we just continue watching Mick right now, trying to defend from the other Ford behind him, followed by a Ferrari. But of course, there's Schwartz once again, and I believe this may actually be one of the stories of this race. By the looks of it, as Schwartz is just carving, it's just looking to carve his way through the field. No, well, it's just to say that. I thought we were looking at an overtake, but nope, he got half
spun a little bit.
Yeah, he got half spun, able to catch it in the Lamborghini. But ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen commentators curse before, it's right there for you. Great example.
Well, it's nice to see, looking at the track map, that there is still a nice big bunch of all these cars. You know, just don't pay attention to the leader. But that's going to make for some very good racing as long as it stays something like this.
Yeah, exactly. As to be honest, I'm just having a drink real quick because it is early and it is boiling. So I feel like I need to stay hydrated right now. But Schwartz. This is the man we're currently watching. If you're wondering why we're not watching P1, it's because they have decided to be good old do man, as he's right there, and he is just going off into the distance. He's just decided to become an F-22 Raptor and decide, yep, nope, I'm out of here, bye-bye, I'll see you guys later. Whereas the rest of the field is kind of just chilling with each other, having some nice little battles. And there's the Ford, as you can see P2 just about coming over Eau Rouge, or maybe that's even a lapped car, actually.
Oh, that's definitely a lapped car. Yeah, that car was in the pits.
You can barely see that headlight.
God damn.
Yeah, that's what happens. And, you know, of course, that car had to let him by if they came out in front. And now, as the entire rest of the pack, P2 back, is coming up on that blue flag, they are going to have to filter all the way through and lose time after time after time. That is not a good strategy, but I assume they had to fix some damage, so tough luck for their race.
See, we can hop onto P8 speed. There's a good fight all going on there at Broxel, coming to No Name. There we go. Andy.
Yeah, I mean, it's very handy and dandy. Okay, why the heck did I just run? What the hell? As we continue going on throughout the rest of this race, P8, the number 76, currently just trying to go and keep on going as they are speed. If you get that reference, you are a true legend. And you know, and ciao. As we just keep on going throughout the rest of this race. Let's be honest, we're at the, I believe we're about 44 minutes remaining, maybe a little bit more, maybe 54 minutes remaining. It just seems like it's cut off a little bit by the sponsors as we do continue going on throughout the rest of this race. Currently going down towards the Camel Straight. No, not Camel Straight. Down towards the bus stop chicane, which then leads to also Camel Straight. Continuing on throughout the rest of this race. Pit window is open with 43 minutes and 0.32 seconds remaining. So realistically, quite a good little one as we continue going, as we're going over to Matt Hartin on the 485 silver Audi R8, heading down into the bus stop chicane with a very luminescent pink livery right behind it.
Yeah, and that Audi can certainly be a handful, but they can also fly very, very quickly if they're driven right. And it certainly looks like, you know, from where he qualified and from what we've seen, he can drive that the way it needs to be driven. So you got to watch the Audis. There's only 2 of them here, as sort of expected, but keep an eye on them. They can be very, very quick cars.
Yeah, as we get a little replay, I do believe it was the same car, but it's just staying where it was staying, as you see a car in the pit lane on the left-hand side. Having a bit of an unlucky time. Currently looking at another, what the hell is a kilometre car? I am trying not to swear, but it's kind of hard when you're a Brit. Heading down towards the heading down the Camel Straight once again, the 128 in the gold. Got to be defending from the Porsche. And Smith in the Audi is actually into the pit lane, as right now going back to Mitchell, trying to close down on that Mercedes, on that Ferrari, who is right in front of him, but he's also going to have to try and defend from behind us. Realistically, when you look at the map, all these cars are just really bunched up with each other, and I feel like it's going to be like that until the pit stops start to come in.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, we talked a little bit earlier about having close battles, slowing people down, and potentially dealing with your tires and your fuel and everything a little bit worse because you're dealing with that. So a tight race like this with this big group is going to probably create some level of gaps later in the race as people make mistakes and fall off, or, you know, get too close to each other and they have some sort of little bump and run. But mistakes do start coming up much faster when you're in a big group fighting like this for a very long time.
Yeah, very true. And I mean, even though it's not a big group, I'm just looking on the left-hand side of the leaderboard real quickly, and Andrew Rife seeming to be getting closed down on by his fellow Ford in the gold. So it's going to be gold versus silver soon by the looks of it, as you see all of them coming out the bus stop chicane, as Andrew Rife just chilling in P6 for the time being. However, right there, though, it looks like we've got another Ford, the 737. It's bad angle right now, heading down towards the Kemmel Straight, though. If we could get a move to P4, we could probably get a better angle of this. Heading is this as we head down to Eau Rouge, up to the top of Rally on the 777, wheel to wheel, side by side, pedal to the metal, foot to the floor, one had to bail out. And it's 100% going to be track limits warning, but it's P3 versus P4 versus P5, all the way down the Kemmel Straight. Ford versus Ferrari, throw back to the good old days. That's what you love to see, as the Ferrari went and got two moves up in a P3. That's a voice crack.
I believe the Ford from behind, the one who got pushed out, the one on the right side lift to let him by, because I think that Ford driver didn't think pushing someone off the track on the left side is a clean pass, and thus that Ferrari took advantage of that yielding and got a double overtake.
Well, also, there's no way they went too wide through Eau Rouge and did it flat, whereas the Ferrari, if they were, you know, still far enough back, able to take that flat and just continue at full pace, yeah, they could easily have caught like that. I did that last night, and it's surprising how fast you catch other cars down that straight when they've missed, you know, a millisecond of their time that they would have had through one of the two turns leading up to it.
Very often when you're in the back, just hoping the front two just fight, and then down the Kemmel Straight, you just collect both of them, and nothing they could do about it.
Well, actually, one thing I do need to point out here, these three were battling, P3, 4 and 5 were battling. Andrew Rife, if you look at the background, he's coming through the curb just behind him. He was not there before, but you can see him now, so it just proves even that minor battle those three drivers had has really just brought Andrew Rife and the rest of the field into contention for the podiums.
So
yeah, I don't know what you guys... oh, go, Cube.
I'm looking at the last lap time. Those three drivers, the fastest only 19, low 19, and the four drivers who go side by side in Radeon and Eau Rouge, we're doing high 20 and mid 21, and Rife in the back just collected 3 seconds on them.
Wow.
So it really just is a testament to show that, hey, you're battling, but you gotta be careful, because you're gonna have people sneaking up behind you, and it is really, if you look from P1 to P7, it is just a swarm of Fords and a singular Ferrari.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I actually have the most trouble when I come up on a group that's fighting and I'm, you know, much faster because I'm catching them. Now, of course, you end up slowing down because you're in the battle as well, but it's sort of like Well, what do you do if I make a dive on the car in front of me while they're, battling a car in front of them? Is that technically legal if they're side by side, if this is happening? And I just get in my head and I end up just sort of sitting back and hoping they'll make a mistake that I can take advantage of. But I'm just not able to be that sort of aggressive, put my shoulders in and get everyone out of my way, even though I'm, coming up on them.
It is quite difficult. I believe that spacing we just witnessed in Radeon and Oruge is kind of the optimal situation. You're out of the dirty air and they're fighting. And you're not too close where you have to back off right in the incline. So you catch them at the end of the incline and they're both compromising each other. And then Camel straight, the delta velocity is just too large for anyone to defend. But other than that, if you're too close or too far, it's difficult.
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, because to be honest, I was doing some I'm on console, but the cars are exactly the same. I was doing some races around Spa earlier myself, and one of the things that I found is that I seem to. This is me personally, but it may be the same for all others. I struggle more behind the McLaren than a Ford. Because the McLaren has a major wake, so. You've also got to take into account the wake of each car, as each car will have more wake than another. As we do have a Ferrari and a Lamborghini coming into the pit lane, dropping down the order, as well as another Ford, and everybody's just going to be going. Then as we head down through Oruge and up to the top of Radeon, once again the gap's starting to form. As here we go, we've got drivers coming out the pit lane. This is where traffic's going to start to kick in, with just slightly over 35 minutes remaining in this race.
I'm looking at the pit delta of the drivers that pit. A lot of them are over 2 minutes, so I assume most of them had damage. I have not yet seen a 92-second pit. The quickest so far is 106-second pit delta. But maybe what I read was incorrect, because those 106-second pit delta has a stopped stationary time of 32 seconds. So maybe 106 seconds is the best you can do here.
Yeah, there's two things that might come into play there. The one being it may count your total pit time as when you leave the sort of end of pit lane. Yes. And so one of the things that we stressed a lot for this track is that you need to stay inside of the lines when you go through pit entrance and pit exit. No matter what, you have to stay inside those. Your tire can touch them but cannot cross. So if everyone has been,
2 tires or 4 tires for this week?
2 tires.
So you can cross half a car or so?
No, you cannot cross.
You cannot
2
cross,
tires can touch, but they cannot cross. As soon as there's a gap between them, you have a penalty. And there were a lot that have been pointed out. So I think if that's sort of drilled into your brain, at the beginning of this race, then you might be taking it a little bit slower getting into the pits, because losing a few seconds here or there as you come in or as you leave is way worth it.
Sorry, I had to cut you off there. Lapped car just moving out the way down into the bus stop chicane. Rife getting around the car. I thought he was going to go for an overtake there, but no, it was just a lapped car.
But that got incredible.
Yeah, it was incredibly close and incredibly hairy, but yeah, the gap's starting to open up now, and it's just chilling us up. That car's gone off in the background. Andrew Rife with a very easy acceleration. And before anybody says anything, yes, I know he's my fellow commentator for D1, but I am not glazing him. Don't call me out in Twitch chat.
Yeah, we'll see if you curse him. Oh, and there's somebody that went way wide at Radeon.
And now there are more drivers coming into the pit as we're approaching the halfway mark. Not quite, almost. We have Andy Speed, Matt Ardom, Nick Sand, who else? Hartman, Lee May. So we have 5 drivers in the pit.
Yeah.
Are we at half yet?
Not quite,
yes. Almost, yeah. We're just slightly over the 32-minute mark. We do have a bit of a problem with the sponsor being a bit awkward.
Oh, no. I mean, are we at half drivers who have pitted?
Oh, well, how many people do we have on the grid? 23 and 5.
We have more
drivers.
than that.
18 drivers. No, I'd say we have about half.
Right
I
now
think
half. Now half, yeah.
Yeah.
Counting the one who's in the pit.
Yeah, counting the ones who are in the pit lane now and the ones who have pitted, we've got about half. I passed maths, yet somehow I failed English. I've had to read. I finished my fifth reset of my English exams 2 weeks back, and I swear down, if I am 1 mark off from passing like I was last year and have to resit English again, I'm gonna go crazy.
This certainly looks like an overtake possibly coming into Blanchimont.
Yeah, most definitely, as the slipstream is also going to make a play here as we continue going down. It is a McLaren in front with a good old BMW behind, the good old Beamer, of course, having good old horsepower, but the good old McLaren, of course, having the straight line speed as we continue on watching this race as we head down towards the bus stop chicane. And it's going to be nice and clean for the time being. If you want to get involved in the action, join us at SRA.GG as into the pit lane comes the McLaren and Andrew Rife into the pit lane, as well as also Mick Wheeler into the pit lane.
Yep, so our drive leader just
side.
came in a little bit ago, so we have a lead change. Right now we have Fincitni, I think. I don't know how to pronounce that name for sure, sorry sir. But we have a lead change. I'm curious where Wheeler is going to come out as he's still driving into his box.
Yeah, well,
it's get into traffic.
Huh. So we get a change for the lead, yet it is still a goddamn Ford.
Well, remember, at this point, because there's gaps and because different people have come into the pits, not all, at the same time or in a row, we don't actually know who may be sort of in, well, we know he's in probably provisional first, is probably Wheeler, but back from him, there may be some of the people that are green that have gone through the pits that have satisfied that requirement that actually are, P2 and P3 when everyone else comes out, even though it looks like they're back in 18th or 17th right now.
Let me look at that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, though, we've also got to take into consideration. Those people who pitted really, really early, what are they going to be doing?
Probably going backwards, because as they go through the crowd and they're blue flagged, unfortunately, that doesn't work in their favor.
Yeah, most definitely. As Evan Kim is actually gone and got the fastest lap. God damn.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was mentioning. I was wondering if because he was probably one of the higher up cars, he could be very fast. That's why he has the fastest lap, but it looks like he's in 19th. He may be provisional second or third.
Yeah, well, he's just, with all those pit stops, he's jumped up to P13, looking for P14 maybe, down the Kimmel straight, on the back of San versus the Ford, up into P number 12. And it's, well, he's up into P number 12 momentarily, down to P13 once again, through the chicane, into the right-hander. Once again, this track really does provide us with the entertainment as the lead once again into the pit lane as the board seems to not update once again as we continue down through the right-hander, but the Ford is going to stay ahead for the time being. Nick Sass being there in P number 12 with the 105 Ford.
Yeah, it was really nice, safe driving you see there, and of course what happens in the chicane is you can take the inside line, but it quickly becomes the outside line, so you don't get that pass done like he was trying, but good, respectful driving, and he'll have another chance for it soon.
So more drivers coming into the pit. So far, only Doyle in current P3 and Anderson, right now we are on board with him in P8, has not pit. So, because we're in the halfway mark, so you will see a bunch of drivers just go in.
Correction here. He's up in the P2 with everybody in the pit lane on the left-hand side, on the bottom right, I should say. You can see it. It's the board takes a while to update. He's up in a P2 with the number 94. But, of course, like you said, yet to pit.
Yeah, this is when these cars are going for track position rather than, the strategy of when their tires are going off or, when other people go in and trying to undercut or overcut. They're sort of hoping that because they have this clean air right now, because everyone around them has disappeared, then they can actually keep putting in faster laps. As long as their tires are still, good enough, safe enough, this may be to their benefit to go along, especially as they are both Porsches.
And we're with
Yeah.
Wheeler right now. He is currently P3, but he's effective P1 because of the pitting situation. With quite a gap too, I would even say. He has a 12-second gap behind him. So, that man's comfy.
Jeez. Yeah, he is comfy, and honestly, he's kind of putting Michael Manning to shame a little bit. Like, come on, Michael Manning, where was this pace in your Ford last night in D1? But continuing on throughout the rest of this race, we got to give it to Wheeler. Just an absolute testament, an absolute skill. You can't deny it, as loads of people coming out of the pit lane right there as we go over to the Ford once again of P number 23, but P number 22 looking for a move maybe on P number 21.
Yeah, I wonder how many people have found themselves coming out of the pits right in the middle of a little battle, or even just right with their rival who might have pitted right before them. And like you said earlier, you're coming down the Kemmel Straight, full tilt, full speed, full brakes, but now your brakes are cold and your new tires are cold. So hopefully people are keeping in mind of that, and unfortunately you might have to give some way to the car around you, but there's still 27 minutes, so take your time and get back out there and stay with them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing what you really have to do, and you got to hope for. You just got to stay with them. Like, you can't really deny that overall. Like, that's the main thing about GT racing, in my opinion. With the open wheel formulas, you can kind of just like close down that gap really quickly, lap after lap. Whereas the GT cars, they're heavy, they're bulky, they're a lot harder to rotate. They're definitely ain't as fast in a straight line. So your best hope is you got to stay with the car in front and hope that they make a mistake or get a very good run like we are now as we continue going down towards the bus stop chicane, looking for a move on the McLaren. However, the McLaren wash, of course, being one of the hardest to beat in this game, but right now heading through the left-hander down towards the bus stop chicane. Maybe a cheeky dive bomb, could be on the cards, but a little bit too far back.
Yeah, and the McLaren, you saw its tail waggle a little bit too, so it should have lost a bunch of pace there, but because it didn't, you can see exactly how slippery that car is.
Yeah, I mean,
you got a little bit. Anderson is in the pit, so right now Doyle is the only one who has not pit, and Will is back to P2, still effective P1, and I don't think Doyle is gonna hold on to his tire for too much longer. Actually, he has a lot of free air, does he? No, he doesn't. So he may come in soon.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in now.
I see coming now. Yep. So
yeah, he's gonna
get a new set when he has to fight
Wheeler?
through the traffic, and Will is gonna get promoted to P1 once again with a comfortable gap, 15+ seconds behind him.
Yeah, we should look at where Doyle ends up in this race, because he is the one who went the longest, so he will be sort of the metric for how well that strategy works out.
Yeah, very, very true. As just about 24 minutes, 42 seconds remaining in this race, and it's going to keep on going into the depths of the Ardennes night, as realistically, if any of these drivers turn their headlights off, it would really just show how dark this circuit actually is. Through the left-hander we go, and I wonder if we could get a visual on Doyle to see whereabouts he is in the pit lane, respectively, as there he is, right there heading onto the second part of the pit entry. But the real question, has he made his actual pit stop? No, he has not. He's going to pull the car over. Yeah, I was about to say, but now it's orange. As there he is, finally coming in to the pit lane. We'll continue watching him, as you will see Wheeler come across the bottom of the screen most likely, as there he is, going through turn number 1. You'll see Doyle on the right-hand side as you head down past the pitch straight. Where's Wheeler? There's Wheeler as he goes past, down to Eau Rouge, up to the top of Radion. He's going to have a very comfortable gap, and unless he makes a major mistake, I don't see anybody catching him.
If you look through the driver board on the left side, you can see a bunch of gaps have formed between. So now we have maybe groups of 2 or 3 rather than a big old group of 7 or 8, which means that you won't have the same level of battles. However, I definitely encourage you, if you haven't done a race at a track like this that has you know, none of the extra lighting on the side and it's at night, try a battle with even one car behind you and the lights in your mirror and the way they move around. It is frustrating and it's stressful. So it's a good way to attack, a good way to defend, play around with that. But definitely you have to experience this for yourself.
I don't think it's nice for the car behind either, to be honest. When your headlight is lighting up the bumper of the car in front, that makes your surrounding even darker to see.
What if they have something fun written on their bumper?
Maybe like no Punterino on the rear wing.
I actually we have Clever Girl as a fake license plate because we have Jurassic Park for my team.
Oh, that's cute. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's about as fast as I drive.
I would like to point out, so far our biggest winner is Ethan Kim. Currently P6, start P22, and I believe he pit fairly early, if I recall correctly. So undercut worked out for him quite well. Actually, let me find Doyle. Where is Doyle?
He looks to be in 12.
Doyle is P12.
Doyle P12, so not too bad either. Doyle gained 6th place.
Yeah,
So
and actually, if you're looking at
depends
who,
on traffics.
right, exactly, because you're looking at who didn't make out well. We're looking at P9 and P10. You know, Platt and Reif were probably both up there in the top 6 or 7, as we remember. Certainly, I remember Reif was. So
5th,
something happened to them. They lost some time in the pits there.
Oh, let's look at the pit. Yeah, the pit is a couple of seconds longer for Reif, but not that much that he would drop 5 places. I think he may have stuck in the pack of 6, 7 for too long, just fighting around and spending a lot of lap times. But that being said, we wasn't sure if he could have pitted. We didn't know where he would have come out, and maybe he's still be in traffic. That is still another possibility.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing where you got to look out for realistically, is these battles are going to cause it. As realistically, as we look at it right now, everybody's made their pit stops, so I do believe that we will see quite a few battles start to form up between all these drivers once again towards the end, with just under a quarter of the race left to go, as we do have a yellow flag up top, as we'll try and see where that is. As that is,
that's Hartman.
That is card off at Rodion.
That looks expensive.
And we're going to get a nice, we got a nice little replay here going up through Radion. Maybe that's just a loss of the rear end. And honestly, I feel like I think that's just a testament to the wake of the cars, because I think as he went up over Radion, the wake of the car in front just made him lose. You saw him try to catch it and rotate it, but I don't think he got the grip on the front end, and he just ended up going off.
Well, there's actually a bump right down that crest also, and if you get it slightly wrong, you have to sort of straighten your wheel and just wait for a second. Yeah, I mean, even though it's going to mess you up, you have to straighten your wheel and just take it. But if you try to hold on to the turn, that's what happens. You go for a bump, your tires are on the wrong side, or they're turned a little bit, they get grip facing the wrong direction, and it snaps you around like that. And you're going to see that at least once a race.
Well, we've just seen it there, and we're going to hope that it does not happen again. Thankfully, no major incidents tonight. D1 got to do better. Like Andrew said yesterday, a bit of a slap on the wrist for D1. But D2 really showing the worth and showing who they are. As up, just as I said that, there's been a collision. Just as I said that, somebody clip that. Somebody clip that.
Oh, he missed. Oh no, that was almost a clean dive, I would say.
That was completely on the guy who got spun. He just turned into him.
Agree. The outside's fault.
Yeah,
I think if you look closer, I think that even though he had space and was making that turn, the guy on the inside did not stick to his line going on the turn, and I think he started to go out to the left a little bit too early. I imagine that maybe the guy on the outside might have turned in a bit too at the same time, but it looks probably like a racing incident to me.
Well, I guess we'll wait and see as we're looking at a replay around the outside as off goes the McLaren, probably just having to bail out due to loss of grip.
Yeah, certainly something we need to look for here is exactly what I'm seeing down at the bottom. That is what I was going to say. As we get near the end of this race, drive-throughs from people losing their track limits, and also people getting a little bit closer and maybe dive bombing a little bit more, because as the race ends, they're going to try to fight for that. Maybe he pitted?
Oh, he didn't drop down the order, so...
Oh.
That's either a DC or a quit. Probably more of a quit with it. Well?
He's still connected. I'm seeing the time.
Huh.
I don't see a disconnect from him. It was Art, right?
I think so.
Yeah, he's still here. He's still running. I do not understand.
ACC do better.
Oh, there we go. He still has it.
He's down in P24.
Yep, he still has the DT.
Well, I guess we'll see if he comes in this lap, or you have 3 laps to go for.
Laps, but the race is practically GG'd at this point.
Yeah,
that's certainly true.
I'd say that's going to be a solid P34.
Actually, guys, big brain move here, right? You slow down and make other cars go offline so they all get drive-throughs. That's how you do it.
So you got friends.
I think you would probably get even more penalties from doing that.
No, that's perfectly legal. No one's ever thought of it.
Well, we've mentioned it now as we see a nice little dive bomb down the inside, but defending is the Porsche, and a nice little defense right there. That's what you love to see. This is why we've got the replay feature. This is what we love to see it. And just heading down towards turn 1 once again, nice and clean. But Sam
comes in for a DT.
Yeah. As Sam, considering that you mentioned that, the stewards are probably going to be getting all together straight away, just like, no, we got to make a rule right now that is not happening.
Or Sam gets 5 seconds for mentioning it.
It won't make a difference in my position.
Nah, not a 5-second penalty for Sam. 5-second penalty for Ocon instead.
Yes. But yeah, I love seeing all these tight races go to each one of these chicanes. It's like we talked about earlier, inside, outside. You can make a run on somebody, but if they defend correctly, there's basically no chance of you following them through and finishing that overtake unless they get timid or make a mistake. And one of the really nice things here is, let's say you're in a car that turns very well, but maybe isn't as fast on the straights. That is how you keep your position. You defend, defend, defend.
Yeah. That's just what you have to do. It's defense at the end of the day. Get one of the American football chants going. Defense. You know what it is. You've seen it online. We got way better ones. As it's just what you have to do realistically. Like you can't really do it. You can't really do anything else really, because your defense is your main aspect really, especially in a GT car. Because if you're wheel to wheel side by side with somebody, you've got to defend, otherwise you're losing your position. Kind of simple. It's like Will Buxton saying, to win the race, to finish the race, first you have to finish.
I'm cut you off here. Blanchimont, Weisgarver, and Max Dick, I believe. Yes, it is Max Dicks. Max definitely backed up Weisgarver a good bunch, and Stavolo exiting into Blanchimont and defending hard on the inside into the bus stop. I don't think Weisgarver is going to have a chance for a switch back here. He get backed up again on the second part of the bus stop.
Yeah,
it has to be frustrating to drive behind Diggs for Austin.
Yeah, most definitely. Sam, what are your thoughts on that right there?
Well, I think it's exactly what I was saying, and that's sort of what I was alluding to specifically as the Porsche, because you see that, where he did that move, and then as he gained the space right here, are two of the tightest turns on the track. And actually, when I was qualifying yesterday, I'm probably solidly mid to later than mid-pack. But I had the fastest Sector 1 for quite a while, and I think I had the third fastest overall by the end of it. And that's simply because I'm able to make the car like the Porsche rotate around tight turns like that. So if you watch here right now, it looks like the McLaren's going to come up on, he's got a lead, and this is probably done. The Porsche's going to the inside to take the defense, but this is not something that he can stay ahead of, and that whole inside-outside thing is done unless he is bold and goes for the late braking and takes it. And that's very safe driving, I believe, by the McLaren. Maybe could have been a little bit harder, maybe could have shut the door down, but the Porsche stays in front.
Well, no, commentators, curse off he goes.
Oh my god, self-delete. Cough it right back up.
Right. I've just got to say something here. Me and Andrew never got any of these curses last night. Why is it as soon as I'm with Sam, commentators' curses are kicking in straight away? Is this a sign or something? Do I just need to rock up to D2 every single goddamn night?
Do we need to mention Rife a couple more times here?
I am known for the commentator's curse. It is not kind to those who are driving under my eye.
That's right, baby.
Wait.
Kim is the biggest winner so far tonight.
Yeah, well, it's kind of what you have to do as it. Oh god, broadcast. The person who's controlling the stream has heard you as we go to Andrew Wright, Team number 10
Give
right
the man
now.
some magic.
No, leave Andrew alone. I don't want him to be mad at me as we continue on going down towards the good old Eau Rouge and Radion section down the Kemmel Straight, looking for a move. But to be fair, he's got a nice little gap right now heading, and he's got Schwartz behind him with a nice little gap, and he's got Matt in front of him with a nice little gap as Andrew Rive completely just decides to cut good already on down the Kemmel Straight, nice and clean for the time being, just enjoying his moment as I wonder if we could get to P6 momentarily, as there seems to be a gap closing down and down as he is going to have to defend as that pink car is coming up as P6 is coming up very quickly to P number 5, as that is Digger, who has got a drive-through penalty.
Rest in peace.
And RIP, your race is over. Might as well throw in the towel.
White Scarf are definitely pushing really hard, maybe trying to push the track limit to gain any advantage he can hold on to the position, and up, giving up a lot more positions.
Yeah, and you watched when he defended and he braked really, really late, but when you start going offline like that and staying to the inside all the time to defend, you end up running over the rubber marbles and your grip goes away. So it's very hard to then not go off later like we saw him do. And that, of course, results in what we're seeing now, the drive-through. So, you know, at some point, maybe you do give up defense in the name of survivorship.
Give up one position is better than, I don't even know where he's going to end up, to be honest. I'm gonna look real quick.
P33.
It's kind of painful. You think so?
Yeah, I mean, somebody else already.
Likely.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Spa. Even if there's cars what have been lapped, you're gonna be with them lot, because Spa is such a long pit lane. Like, people say it, and it's just a fact in real life. You gotta hope that you even for the 12 hours of Spa, people say that it's almost impossible to win the 12 hours of Spa, because if you get a penalty where you have to go into the pit lane, your race is over because it's such a long one.
Yes, to the chat, I think John died. I think he got spun.
He's gone to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah. He's in a P31 at the moment. Still fighting for P30 though, but he definitely died.
Actually, sorry, I'm gonna have to interrupt you here. Heading down once again down the Kemmel Straight. This McLaren has been here lurking the entire lap time. It's not the Ford that has the missiles this time. It is, of course, the McLaren. Missile lock, Fox 1 loose away as you head down into the chicane. And it's going to be wheel-to-wheel, side-by-side. Tiny little bit of contact, maybe. Door banging, that's what we're going to call it. These guys are not giving each other any room, and they're just going to keep on sticking with each other, looking for the moves around the outside, maybe, for the good old McLaren, but he's going to stay there. He's going to have to stick and stay there in P6 for the time being. Number 29 unable to get past 737.
Yeah, this is just classic power versus agility. When we were right there looking at the bumper from the McLaren onto the Mustang, you could see the Mustang pulling away slightly down the straight from La Source up towards Eau Rouge. But because he had to take Eau Rouge and route in slightly slower, the McLaren was able to catch up going down the Camel Straight and then keep along all those turns. They went too wide through a whole bunch of those tight turns. As soon as there's a little bit of a gap, though, the Mustang gets a little bit further ahead because of that power. So really, if you're the McLaren, you have to set up this pass. You have to get it right one time, and otherwise probably back out.
Yeah, well, I mean, a little bit of a correction on that. Yes, the power is there. However, this is from my personal experience from a lap earlier today. Of course, it won't relate to Spa because the straight just ain't long enough, but the McLaren does have a higher top speed than the Ford, even if it's ever so slightly. So yes, the McLaren doesn't have the power, but if it can get up to its top speed, it can start edging back to the side of the Ford.
Yeah, it's more about the getting out of the turn power, right? Getting that throttle down, getting your torque to really work for you. That's
like
the power I'm talking
acceleration.
about. Yeah, you see when they get out of these turns, the Ford can pull away slightly, but then the McLaren catches up.
I'm going to have to interrupt here as Andrew Rife is all over the back of Plate Silver versus Gold once again, as it turns out nothing is going to happen with it. Back to what you were saying.
Oh, we might see something by the end of the cam. We'll keep watching.
Well, I mean, we do have 4 cars basically wheel to wheel, bumper to bumper, as I do wonder how close that car actually is. As once again, it is Evan and San gonna be going wheel to wheel, maybe once again heading down the inside. There's the McLaren. Oh,
that's a lot of curve for Ethan Kim.
I was about to say that's a whole lot of curb for what it's worth, heading down through the right-hander. It's what you'll love to see realistically, heading once again, as that is a drive-through for a McLaren further down the 947 P20. Goodbye to your race. You're going down the order as there is 6 minutes and 19 seconds left in this race, and I feel like he's just going to pull over and return to the pits.
Call it good.
Well, you know who's benefiting the most from this fight that we're watching, this beautiful battle, is of course Speed behind. You know, he might jump from 7th to 5th if he can catch up to these two and they, you know, maybe go a little bit too hard into each other. So I guarantee he's dropped a significant gap down to these two and is just watching and waiting for his chance.
Speed in a prime bottle or WrestleMania?
Yeah, I'm looking at the last lap time. Speed is 0.8 to a full second quicker than Kim and Nick. So those two definitely are fighting each other and wasting time. Not just wasting, but letting someone else catch up.
Well, that's the thing though. Even if you're catching up, you're going to have to get it done sooner or later because there's 5 minutes, 26 seconds remaining here at Spa-Francorchamps. 3 laps remaining, so if you want to get your moves done now, lads, get them done as soon as possible. Here, Andrew Rife in the middle of it. 4-way battle. It looks like he's got a car right behind him looking for the move down into La Source. And it's going to be the number 79 versus the 281. Battle of the Silvers. Down the inside goes
he's
Andrew.
Looking for offset late apex and got snuck in from the inside.
Yeah, love a little move down the inside, and honestly, now he may actually have the acceleration down towards Eau Rouge, up to the top of Radion once again. But that is a major cut of the curb. Carl bounced a little bit.
I think Plate may have cut some.
Yeah, cut a lot. I mean, hopefully he still got, or obviously he still has a warning or 2 left, but coming down to the wire here, you can't keep doing many more of those.
He thought about defending from Rife?
Most likely.
You know, guys, our problem here, if Kim does pass on, is it'll kind of ruin our whole all Mustangs need a big BOP picture there of going 4 of the top 5. So,
there's a 2.9 second gap. Oh, is that Andrew?
I think that may be Andrew.
I think that's Andrew.
That's Platt. That's Platt.
Can we get a visual? Is it? No, I think that's can we get a visual on Andrew?
Andrew's pointing straight.
Is he? Oh.
Oh,
damn.
Oh,
damn.
boy.
He's alive.
We gotta.
I was scared for a second. I would, if he went round, I wouldn't have wanted to be in the D1 box next Tuesday.
Car number 30. Yeah, that is plat positive. Oof.
Yeah, Platt's. Gee, can we get? Yeah, if we can get a visual on Platt, that's probably best. Just so we see where he is, as he has. Yeah, he's dropping down the order. That was 100%
That's Platt and Doyle who contact. I checked the contact list, and we got a raid from a Trackalicious. Thank you, big party. And we're
yeah, we had a
end of the race. We have 2 laps or so left, I believe.
Yeah, remember we had a great endurance race with Trackalicious, and you know, definitely take a look at those guys. They're pretty much in parallel with us. We should all help each other out, and thanks for coming by.
Yeah, thank you for the raid, Trackalicious. That is always greatly appreciated. If you haven't already checked them out, you guys best check them out because they are incredibly good. Of course, you had the 24. Of course, we had the endurance race at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. And of course, we had a few of the. Of course, I wasn't a commentator at the time. That race was actually what brought me into SRA. But yeah, good old involvement with Trackalicious and SRA with each other. If you're just joining into this race, of course, we've got 2 minutes, 10 seconds remaining here at Spa-Francorchamps, currently being led by Wheeler. And of course, it's another Ford. And then the good old Ferrari of the 786. It's a bit smaller on my screen by accident, so it's a bit hard for me to keep up with the names. We do apologise, and heading towards the end of this race, it's been a good one. Few drive-throughs and not too many incidents. D1, we're looking at you. Take inspiration from D2. Heading down throughout the rest of this race, though, with 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. We will most likely have 1 lap after. We will most likely be going on to the final lap, watching Wheeler. As of course, this man, he's been absolutely dominant all race.
You know, actually, during the Nürburgring race, it was me that you were talking to. I was the commentator where you were talking in chat, telling you how to get over here and commentate with us.
Thought I recognised the voice.
But yeah, something that I find really interesting here is that the fastest lap is by the guy in P2. That driver, it sort of just shows you, and I'm sure many of the other drivers in the top 5, 10 or so could have all been fighting with Wheeler. This is not to say that he isn't that much better or whatever, maybe he is, but specifically because something happens at the very beginning, which causes a bunch to slow down and bunch up and fight, then this is what you have, that gap forming, even though they could have fought. And wow, this is coming down to the, I believe, last chance they have on this lap.
Yeah, we've got 30 seconds remaining, so I do believe this will be the final lap of the race. May stand corrected, though. We'll find out when we do finally cross the line, but it's going to be pedal to the metal, foot to the floor, all for the final lap of this Spa Grand Prix. I am probably going to be corrected, but we'll have to wait and see. Past midnight in game. I have no idea what time it is for me right now. I know I'm being this loud at 3:43 a.m. Lucky you guys over in America. Heading right now down the Kemmel Straight, 29 versus 105. The timing comes to an end as it's round the outside. Heading once again, needs to have been active for the past 5 laps. That is a beautiful overtake for the McLaren. However, the Ford is going to try stick it in there, unable to so far. And at this late stage in the race, you gotta wonder, is that it, and is it done?
Yeah, that's done. The Ford took the wrong line, trying to defend on the inside when the chicane was coming, and it was going to switch back over like we talked about. And also, they braked at the same time, which means that obviously one of them had to stay on the brakes longer.
Sorry to interrupt here. There's a car, I believe that was an overtake, nice little one. As we can't deny it, we're going to have to look back to him as he probably has half a lap left. Good old Wheeler. It's the final lap. We cannot really deny him the race win, can we? As he head down towards the bus stop chicane for one final time. The 613 heads round the bus stop chicane. Keep it nice and clean as you head around the final corner. And one last time, pedal to the metal, foot to the floor. It is Wheeler who wins the Spa-Francorchamps Grand Prix in Division 2. What a win!
And we hope he had a nice practice tonight.
Indeed.
D1 next week.
Yep.
Oh, don't worry, I've already got my outro in my head.
Well, something to keep in mind, look over on the left and let's make sure we don't see any drive-thrus pop up at the end, because that would be a huge penalty at the end. But if you're fighting with someone real close, that might happen.
But it'll be a 30-second at the end as everybody's going to start to reset back to the pit lane once they cross the line, because let's be honest, I don't think anybody wants to do a cooldown lap here at Spa. Well, here we go then, around the final corners, and honestly, Andrew Rive up in P10, my fellow D1 commentator, is going to be back next week, and we're going to head to the lines, and of course, it is going to be ending as we continue to watch the rest of the drivers make their way towards the line. I do believe the battles are finished all across the field, though.
Wait, is that fuel?
Well,
is that someone out of fuel? Or nearly out of fuel?
Is it?
The lights are off, they're going real slow?
Oh, that's Curl. The lights are off. He's out of fuel. He's not going to make it to the line.
I've done this on Blanchimont too.
Oof.
That's just that on the final lap as well.
Final sector. I did that in Paul Ricard. I coasted through it. Oh my, this is heartbreaking.
It's Spa though, not enough speed. That's it. That is it. It is over. And
quick reminder, you only change tires, so you got to set your fuel at the beginning. Better to overestimate.
As Wheeler, of course, coming in for the win here at Spa Francorchamps, and honestly cannot deny it. And we'll start to hit the outro. We'll start to speak about it at the end here, because no offense to you guys, but it's 3:47 a.m. and I would like to go to bed. So we will start to end it out here, and we're going to hit... I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to hand your final thoughts to you guys just before we end.
Seemed like a great race to me. A lot of good fights all the way going through sort of the halfway point where everyone ends up pitting, and then we got some gaps, but of course we had some, good two-way battles to look forward to, sort of typical Spa race, and congrats to Wheeler for running away with it.
I love the battles in the early stages, the 6-7 car battles between like P5 to 10. That was fun to watch, but that was costly for those drivers. And also at the end, where Nick Sen and Ethan Kims were fighting, literally last lap, and then they got it. It was straight into Lacombs. That was ballsy move. Replay worthy.
Yeah, most definitely. As we are ready to end, so let's... Thank you. Just a few minor difficulties. I seem to got cut off there. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been one hell of a Spa race. It's Spa. You know you'll love it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been SRA Division 2. Back here on Twitch, we'll be live with D1 next Tuesday evening at, I believe, 7 p.m. EST. Please do correct me. 7 p.m. I should say. I am correct. 7 p.m. EST over on Twitch for D1 with, of course, you got the others on YouTube, and of course, us three, well, apart from Sam, may not be here next week, but D2 also returns here on Twitch for next week as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been Alexa Marshall. This has been Q Master and Sam Roaster. Good night.